Welcome to Bedtime Myths and Mysteries, where legends never sleep. Welcome to Bedtime Myths and Mysteries. Tonight, the story begins not in a graveyard or an abandoned asylum, but on a brightly lit soundstage in California, where cameras rolled, children laughed, and movie magic was made. It is the story of Poltergeist, a film that frightened millions and then became a headline itself. In 1982, Steven Spielberg and Tobe Hooper brought the suburban haunting to life. Poltergeist wasn't grim like The Exorcist or grotesque like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It was clean, domestic horror. The televisions flickered with static, toys came alive, an ordinary family watched their world bend and break. When audiences screamed, the studio celebrated. What no one expected was that in the years ahead, the same word would follow the film wherever it went. Curse. On set, the atmosphere was busy, but tense. Crew members later spoke of strange technical failures, sudden cold pockets, and lights that died without reason. Jo Beth Williams, who played Diane Freeling, recalled one night shooting the backyard pool scene. The water was dark, the set dimly lit, and around her floated a dozen skeletons. She would learn later they were real, borrowed from a medical supply company, because resin models were too expensive. She said the knowledge unsettled her for years. Some laughed it off, others swore they felt something watching from the rafters. After release, tragedy seemed to walk beside the franchise. Only months later, on an October evening in 1982, 22-year-old Dominique Dunne, who played the eldest daughter Dana, was strangled by her ex-boyfriend outside her West Hollywood home. She lingered in a coma for days before dying. The case made national news. The man responsible served less than 4 years in prison. For those who had worked on Poltergeist, the shock was profound. She had been so full of life on set. Now the headlines carried her name beneath the film's poster. When Poltergeist 2 began filming in 1985, the sense of unease returned. Director Brian Gibson and producer Michael Grace kept the tone light, but the stories continued. Props vanishing, equipment breaking. Actor Will Sampson, a member of the Muskogee Nation, known for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, performed a late-night purification ritual on the set. He feared that something dark had attached itself to the production. Crew members said the studio felt strangely still afterward, though none could say why. Within 2 years, Sampson was dead, complications after a heart-lung transplant at only 53. Soon after, Julian Beck, who played the gaunt preacher Cain, succumbed to stomach cancer. Both men were gone before the sequel even reached theaters. The tabloids began connecting dots. The Poltergeist curse claims 2 more, one headline read. Then came the third film in 1988, directed by Gary Sherman and set amid the mirrored towers of Chicago. Its young star, 12-year-old Heather O'Rourke, had been the face of the series since she first turned to a glowing TV and whispered, "They're here." During filming, she suffered flu-like symptoms that worsened rapidly. In February 1988, months before the film's release, she collapsed at home. Doctors discovered an undiagnosed intestinal blockage. Infection had spread. Despite surgery, she died of septic shock. She was only 12. Her death, more than any other, cemented the legend. Newspapers began cataloguing the coincidences. 4 principal actors from the trilogy, dead within 6 years. Fan magazines speculated that real human remains had angered spirits. Television specials asked whether the curse was real. The studio insisted it was coincidence. Terrible, tragic, but coincidence. Yet the public wanted a darker explanation. People close to the production tried to rationalize what had happened. Richard Lawson, another cast member, survived a plane crash in 1992 that killed 27 passengers. Crew electricians spoke of faulty grounding causing shocks, not ghosts. Statisticians pointed out that large casts over multiple years inevitably face loss. But pattern making is in our nature, and grief searches for meaning. The more rational voices spoke, the stronger the myth became. Revisiting the films today, their imagery feels almost prophetic. In the first movie, a mother screams as her child is swallowed by a force beyond control. In the second, a preacher promises salvation and delivers only fear. In the third, a little girl is trapped inside reflections that no one else can see. Each film mirrored what its creators could not predict, that reality itself would start echoing the fiction. Those who worked on the series remember warmth as well as unease. Crew members spoke lovingly of Heather O'Rourke's cheerfulness, of how she brought cupcakes to the set. Her presence, they said, was the light that balanced the darkness. Dominique Dunne was remembered for her intelligence and quick humor. Sampson for his quiet dignity. Beck for his intensity and his poetry. When their names became part of the curse, those memories became a form of resistance, to remind people that behind the myth were human lives. Documentarians later examined the story with care. There was no evidence of a real haunting, no chain of supernatural events. Yet psychologists noted that collective anxiety can create its own haunting. When a production becomes known for misfortune, every flicker of a light feels like an omen. Film historians traced how media coverage in the 80s loved blending entertainment with fear. The word curse sold papers, and soon the idea was self-sustaining. Still, certain moments remain difficult to explain away. The timing, the atmosphere, the way cast members spoke of feeling watched long after the cameras stopped. One of the sound engineers recalled playing back raw audio and hearing what he swore was whispering not present during recording. The tapes were later reused, the evidence erased, leaving only memory and suggestion. Over time, Poltergeist became both film and folklore. Its reputation influenced later productions. Sets were blessed, props examined, and the film industry learned to respect superstition, even while denying it. Modern analysts say it stands as a study in how media myths form, how grief, chance, and fear intertwine until fact and fable share the same shadow. And yet when you watch that first film, knowing what followed, something inside you tightens. Heather's small voice calling from inside the television no longer feels like a line of dialogue. It feels like an echo, a moment captured in celluloid, carrying all the weight of what came after. The poltergeist curse may never have existed in the realm of spirits, but it is very real in the realm of memory. Every retelling keeps the story alive, turning coincidence into legend. Hollywood has seen other tragedies. The Crow, Twilight Zone, the movie, The Exorcist, but none left quite the same lingering chill. Perhaps because Poltergeist was about home, the place meant to protect us, and the horror of losing that safety still resonates. When the credits roll, we're left with a strange blend of fascination and sorrow. Behind each headline was a person. Behind each scene, a crew doing their best to make art. Whether or not anything supernatural ever touched those sets, the emotions they stirred are undeniably real. The idea of a curse endures because it comforts us. If tragedy follows a pattern, perhaps it can be understood. If it's random, it means we are all vulnerable. The film's house, rebuilt on a soundstage, long since dismantled, still stands in imagination, a suburban ghost. The cameras stopped, the lights cooled, but the whispers continued. Somewhere between film grain and folklore, the Poltergeist legend keeps turning, reminding us how close fiction can come to truth and how memory itself can haunt. Thank you for watching Bedtime Myths and Mysteries. If you felt a chill tonight, if you found a moment of wonder in the dark, subscribe and return again. The credits may have finished, but the stories, like the echoes on that set, are still here, waiting